Fleshies, give me a second. Sorry, everybody. It's a little hot today, even in my little mausoleum. Trying to figure out the best way to get this machine of Charlie's to sit. There we go. That's much, much better. The worst part is, I can't see if anybody is on. With it being so hot today, we may have to do a little bit of breaking the wall just a little bit so that the man behind the mask can breathe and stuff like that. But anyway, I think let's see. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody. Hey, we're going to get started, Fleshies. Good afternoon, my Fleshies. Today, I'm going to do my best to get Charlie to tell me and you exactly how he gets his stories written. You know, one thing about being me is that any room that I'm in is always cold. But anyway, Charlie wanted me to tell you that at the time he was writing this up, that it was 93 degrees outside with a real feel of 104. I'm not sure that's right anymore, but we'll go with it. Today I'm not making any jokes about, So, I almost made a mistake. So Charlie starts his poetry and his stories pretty much the same way. As he's chilling, listening to music, if the lyrics hit him just right, he writes them down. Usually just a couple of words that spark something in him, and then he spends some time coming up with a clue about what that story might be about. Sorry, everybody. So, where was I? Oh, so he spends some time coming up with a clue about what the story might be about. To give you an example of what that looks like, here are a couple of upcoming titles and clues. Oh, I guess we didn't do that. He changed it on me and I didn't know. Sorry. Do you remember the story, His Name? That's the story about the boggart. His clue was just words. Just 4 words to be precise. You can't say it. So his name, you can't say it. Typically, Charlie will give the title and the clue to the AI, and the AI will give Charlie 4 possible clues. Or 4 possible plots. I'm sorry. At this stage in the game, my plushies, it's important to know that Charlie has 2 other channels and 8 lives each week, plus all the other videos and all the shorts. He does all the research, and those shorts end up being 14 shorts for the main channel and 14 other shorts for the other channels. So he's a pretty busy guy, which is why his most relaxing time of the day is after everyone else has gone to sleep, when it's just me and him and whoever else might be lurking around. is why he sometimes takes shortcuts when he can. But back to the story. For his name, he picked this plot. Just so you know, Charlie sometimes has ideas in his head for what a story's big bad is going to be. He literally searched through folklore to find a creature who would fit the story. Here is the plot that he had for this story. For his name, someone at the house names the boggart, and now it's no good. It's causing all kinds of problems. Planting a rowan tree in the wood in the yard stops the creature. Now, I can tell you that Charlie made some changes to that story to make it more interesting. Okay. Now, this is all Charlie had to work with in order to develop that story. The next step for him is to begin writing the story. Since this story had characters who were important to the story, Charlie dove into his favorite website, something you'll learn about later on in another live. This website does it all. It develops character names, first names, middle names, last names, nicknames, names for twins, fantasy names, usernames, house names, street names, names for towns, countries, and even businesses. For this one, he had to name the estate and the kids and possibly the parents. And the story ended up being all of this. All of this. And this small part up here. When all of that was done, he started physically writing the story on paper. Always on paper. And once it's written out, he types it up. Charlie thought it might be a good idea to walk you through the process a little bit more. So we're going to create a title and clue for you. The title is On the Trail, and the clue is Miners on the Road. Now, it might not be exactly what Charlie would give you for the finished product. However, Charlie knows that for each story, it needs. The The AI knows that for each story, it needs to create 4 plots. And no, not boneyard plots where I might lay down for a night's rest, but story plots. So the AI created 4 different. Charlie put into the live the clue and the title for you, and it came up with 4 different plots. A group of hikers exploring an abandoned Appalachian trail finds a rusted antique minecart blocking the path. As they attempt to move it, they hear the rhythmic metallic sound of pickaxes striking rock coming from beneath their feet. They realize too late that the trail is actually the unstable roof of a massive forgotten subterranean mine, and the miners who died in it are still there, hard at work, trying to break through the surface to reach the warmth of the sun. Number 2, the midnight shift. A long-haul trucker traveling through a remote mountainous pass encounters a slow-moving archaic convoy of vehicles filled with soot-covered men in 19th century mining gear. When his truck breaks down, he discovers that these miners are not human, but physical manifestations of the mountain's greed. They don't want his cargo, they want his lungs, which they intend to transplant into their hollow cavity, their hollow chest, so they can finally breathe again after centuries of suffocating in the dark. Coal dust haze. During an ultra-marathon race deep in the woods, the lead runner drifts off the marked path and wanders into a dense, unnatural fog. He finds himself on a cobblestone road lined with silent, hunched figures wearing headlamps that emit a sickly pale green light. He quickly learns that he has stumbled onto the miners' road, a purgatory for workers who never clocked out. And now he's expected to take over a shift that requires him to mine the memories and traumas of the living until his own soul is mined out. And finally, a shaft collapse. A group of urban explorers following an old mapped trail in Indiana discover a modern-day sinkhole that reveals a terrifying vertical descent. At the bottom, they find what looks like a highway built out of human bones and coal slag, crowded with lost travelers who've been pressed into service by an ancient non-human foreman. The horror sets in when the explorers realize the road is moving upward, slowly consuming the forest above to expand the reach of their mine, and they are now the newest laborers on the crew. Now, some of those plots are a bit too much, and Charlie will decide which ones stay and which ones go. Typically, he stays with just one, because usually some of the others are a bit too gruesome or too messed up for YouTube. In this case, He's getting rid of number 2, number 3, and number 4. Charlie writes down the plots, and then he knows he's going to need at least 6 characters for the story. In this case, he went with the character name generator, which gives him first names and last names. The names he picked out were Julie Gray, James Gray, Phoebe Robinson, Alexander Robinson, Olivia Hughes, and Pete Torres. Now, he'll usually go in and verify that none of these names have been used before. That way he doesn't get confused or get you confused. And then, my fleshies, is the breakdown of how Charlie writes a story. Charlie wanted me to add that he used to let the AI make up the intros and the outros, but they lost his personal touch, so he's back to doing them and making them solid. Announcements, my friends. Aren't the announcement parts of lives always the part that makes you want to turn off your ears? Upcoming lives, July 9th, Werewolf Lore. July 16th, leaving it to the subscribers. I guess you're going to hear the stories that made me smile with delight. Not the whole stories, but just the ones I liked. And why? What movies have added to monster lore? And what we found in the Boneyard July edition. I must admit, I either made a mistake setting up live or nobody is coming in. That makes me just a little bit sad. I wonder if there's a problem. Let's see. Oh. Fleshies. Anyway, Fleshies. Anyway, Fleshies, I think I'm going to go. Have a great day. Stay cool. And have pleasant nightmares, Fleshies. Oops. Have pleasant nightmares, Fleshies. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, Fleshies.